All right, start the stream. Bam, we're live. So let's check out the viewing page real quick. Reload it. Viewing page. All right, we're live. It is working. So let's get this show on the road. All right, today Martin will not be joining. He is working on his holiday preparation, so he will be back next time. We left off last time with a new board, basically with the classical cells as well. Last time they were just normal X's. I changed the CSS and those type of things to reflect the glyphs that we use. If you remember right, we spent last time redesigning our internal structure of the board. We got to the point that we have our board back in the state that we wanted, which is very good. But now we need to change all the other logic, finding a path and those type of things. So that's what we'll do today. Let's first take a look at what we had when we tested it. You might also notice that I put the game logic in its own closure script file and moved it out of the event system of the board, which will help us with changing the way it works. Basically, I'm trying to figure out what a good way is, but it made sense to move it out of the reframe code. But now there's some leftover code that we need to take care of, but that's for another time. If you remember, before we had this type of structure for our board, and we changed it to having the top level cells right here, like 0, 1, 2, 3, and keeping track of the entanglements within it, and either having entanglements or being classical. So the classical being the big normal Tic Tac Toe things, which now means that we need to change our path detection code, and that's something we'll do now. So let's start with a fresh board. Where's my fresh board? It's right here. We'll comment that back out. See if it will reload, as you see. In the window right here, you'll see the Phantom.js test cycle running. So let's reinitialize the board. So we're back to where we were. And let's try to make the same test case that we used to have with the old board. And so let's recreate this. So cell 0 subcell 2 was used in turn 0, and it entangles cell 1 0. So 0 2 is this one, and 1 0 is that one. What happened then? Cell 1 3 on turn 1. Let's see, 1 3 turn 1. Yeah, 1 3 1 3 1 2 3 turn 1 back to 0 5, right? So this is a cycle. We also had some other entries in here as well. 0 3 to 2 1, 0 3 to 2 1, right? Then we have everything, I think. 0 2 is there, 0 3 is there, 0 5, 1 0 1 3, and 2 1, right? So this forms a path. These two, once you scan the rest, it leads to a cell that is not connected. So this recreates this structure. So let's take a look at the board. Reframe.db/appdb. we can include that structure right here. So the board that is highlighted here is the one that we want, right? We'll take that, we'll redefine our board, bam, there we go. We can clean up this code, right? And let's comment out this structure. This is our previous one. And what we will expect to see now is that our entire test case starts failing, which is a good thing. EDN format, EDN region should be kind of nice, right? Not entirely necessary to do the... There we go, there we go. I'm such a nerd for the for formatting. It's format region. All right. It needs to be formatted on a certain way, or my brain starts to hurt. So that's one of my downfalls. All right, so we have the code, and we should start seeing failures right here. That is what we see. Let's ensure that our feed is correct. Yeah, the feed is correct. Everybody. So we start seeing failed test cases, which is exactly what we want. Yeah, let's move the chat window a little bit like that, so we can see if somebody puts a message. So the next thing we want to do is to fix the find cycles DFS, which was a depth first search, which worked really well. So all we need to do is to put it into this structure, and then we'll apply it to the board. And I figured we can change the color of the things that are in the path and work from there. So let's find the find cycles DFS. That's right here, which is the old one, and we had this really nice so we have this depth first search right here. So if we do it correctly and we change it, then all the test cases should start working again, right? So what does this do? It is currently kind of messy still, because the form here, the function actually returns a function that does a search, which is not entirely needed. It was more of an experiment, but let's make this work first, and then we can make it pretty, because we can use a recur for it, I think. Can we? No, we cannot. We need to reuse the function. All right, so let's see. So what do we have here? The first thing to do is to get in board start. So if we look at what start is, not that one. Start is the identifier of the top level cell that needs to be the that we target, right? So it's needs some time to restart, right? So it's the start cell of our search. So there is a get in board start. So currently in the previous situation that would be the index getting board 0 3, but now it is 0 entanglements 3. So we could start here with cell. Don't do that. I wonder if this works, right? Keys. No. Good morning. I want a cell, a sub cell. And then here we can say we want cell entanglements subcell, and that should give us this index. So this would start with 0, 2, and then it would give us the entanglement of 1, 0. So let's make sure that works. Prn entangle found. And then we should start seeing. Yeah, that does not work at the moment. Yeah. What? Found 1, 0, found nil, found 0, 5. All right. That's interesting. So let's see. So if we change this then to cell subcell, which is the subcell, it becomes quite messy. Maybe we should start from scratch with this, but and what we should see is that when we start a prn finding cell goal on board, right? Let's make this more prominent. Maybe increase the font a little bit. Right, so finding cell 5 on board. And if we take a look at the first, get other cells. So the first cycle would be to find a path to 1 tree. So in this case, finding cell, the goal is 1, which is the top, which is this one. So it starts with 1 tree, which is this one. And then it should traverse back, right? So that is fine. And let's see. So we have the cell subcell, get other cells board, subcell. Let's jump to that one. Get board cells, subcell. Get other subcells. Probably here we need to fix the entanglement search. Yeah, so that would be the subcell filter, not current cell, first cell cells. Cells, right, entangled, and currently the so we're grabbing get other cells. So from the other cell, from the cell that we are looking at, we are now grabbing the entanglements, and what we need to get is not the cell, but we need to get the entanglements. So that would get in board not only the top level cell, but we need to grab the entanglements as well. Entanglements. And first we're going to make it work, and then we'll make it pretty. See, oh, there we go. So currently there's cells, right? That's fine. So now we have the entanglement level. That's good. That's good. Fine. Where's that first part? Right. Right. So the cells right here. Yeah, so if we take a look at what the algorithm is doing right now, the path will be here, path, visited, which keeps track of where we are. It will get kind of messy due to the, so it will have the cell, it does not have the turn yet. Oh, that's interesting. So if we take a look here, so we start at 1, 3, which is right here, and we should move back. It finds the other ones, right? So it has a path 1, 3, 0, 5, which is correct. It misses the turn indicator. So maybe that is off in our cell. No, it's right here. So we miss it somewhere around here, which is the create meta cell, I believe. Alright, right here, create meta cell, right, and we see here the same problem, because here we take a look at the board and we should get it from the entanglement area as well. So we can say cell, subcell from the arguments, then we can decompose as well here, cell entanglements subcell, it will grab that, and then this can become a little bit easier. Subcell, and you see that because we started at a first structure, it becomes kind of messy already, the logic becomes kind of messy, so we will need to fix that later. But let's see what the path current. So cell 1, subcell 3, turn 1, beautiful. Cell 0, subcell 5, turn 1, which is good. 1, 3, 0, 5, 0, 2. That does it. So I think that works. So this test case seems to work now. And let's see about this one. So there's a path to 1, right? To 0. And it expected a list of 1, 3, 0, 5, 0, 2, 1, 0. So apparently this now the 2, 1 that seems to work. Cycle find. So let's do this, right? Let's mark these items, these test cases, and let's first see if this one works. Let's get rid of some of the print statements because that becomes messy. PRN, path, right? See what it does. So it fails from 1, 3. It expects the this area and not empty. Okay, so we're not returning a list at the moment. Get entangled pair. Right, same problem here. Subcell, cell entanglements, subcell. Let's make our first test case work again. Now it works again. Beautiful. Right, we can remain there. The simple test case 2, 1, it should also fail, or it should work now, right? It does not find any missing paths, and that means that starting at 0, 2, 0, 2, it should find the route this way. Beautiful. And what do we have at 5.2, which is a non-existent cell or a non-populated cell. Right, beautiful. There we go. All right. So as we are using it in the map car, let's not try and fix this area, but I want to clean up this code file real quick. As we have the test case, it should make it quite easy. This is left over from a test. Post-life experiments, right? All right, so let's see, there's compile warnings. Find cycle DFS. Cycles DFS. There's no start. Start is cell sub cell. Yeah, so that's the path that we are on. Right, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, all right. So if we reinitialize the board, right? Let's start with a clean slate. Bam, it's clean. There we go. And then we can, let's make our most simple test case ever. At the end of a turn, it will determine the path. If there's a cycle in the entire thing, or in the cell that you just clicked. The first one, the O right here, resulted in nothing. The X, however, from 0.5 to 1.3 to 1.0 to 0.2, right? So that's good. So let's try a more complex scenario. Let's cycle the entire board. There we go. Right, let's do this right there. It's quite convoluted, but bam, it should have a very nice cycle, right? From 0.8, which is here, it should walk back. So the next one would be 3, I guess. Cell 3, 3.8, cell 6, 6.7.8, right? Cell 6, cell 7, cell 8, right? Cell 5 to 5 to 2 to 2. Cell 2 to 1. So 1 sub 0, turn 0. Yeah. And cell 0. All right, so we walked the entire path and it is beautiful. All right, so let's clean up. Let's make our simple case again. All right, this data structure is probably not the most handy in our closure environment. But for now, we have a working cycle, right? So let's clean this part up as well. Now let's go to the board. The events of the board. It is much cleaner now. It's only the public events. And what we said is should collapse find cycles DFS, which is this one, and it prints the path. And currently it just passes along and switches the player. So I'm thinking that we can start cleaning up this. We can just do it with checking the compile warnings, right? This should still be used, right? that is still used, beautiful. Find cycle, this is probably unused at the moment. Red. Right, so this was the old situation, that can go, beautiful. All right, so we now have the path, and the path is it's a somewhat convoluted structure. But let's suppose that we want to, we now need to highlight or indicate that there is a path, and we can just do that by changing the color of the icons. And that will mean that it needs to be selected, right? So let's see how we can do that. We have the cells, we have the subcells, so all we need to do is to indicate to the backend that those cells need to have a highlight. Yeah, so let's call that highlight, right? And let's go back to the DB. So we say we currently have this entanglements for player 0, turn this and it's paired with that. And that's the meta, so let's right, let's just say that highlight, sure, that is the thing that we want to add to it. And then based on that, the rendering mechanism can say, hey, I make this a special cell. Yeah. All right, I'll leave the comments for that. So let's do that. Within the game, we can do that in the board, I guess. We currently have the paths. The paths are found right here, and then with the DB that we're going to pass back, what we need to do is to map over the path and update the DB for those entries. Let's see. So if we take this structure, right? It's an entire list already, so let's take the list. Let's go back to our test code. Let's add it here, right? So we have this list. We can map over it, and we have something of a DB, right? We have a board. Yeah, so we can take the board. Let's see how we can do this. Yeah, we can probably do this. We can say for cell and this one. Let's start with PRN cell, right? We evaluate it, and we should have some entries right here. Right, and what do we want? We want to update. Yeah, we want to update the database. So we want to keep the database intact, and we want to update the cells in it. If we map it, it will just return the list of updates. So maybe we can just say update a function, update highlight cells, which takes a board and returns a board. and takes a head and a tails, right? And then we can just say highlight cells. Remove this one out, right? And then we can PRN the head, and we can recur board and tails, right? If not empty tails, and then we can recur, right? Ba-ba-bum. Run head, clear this, clear that. Nil. Returns nil, of course. But where's my print? My print. Ah, yes, I should pass along a board, right? Boards. Boards, cells, right, there we go. Right, so now it prints the cells, right, beautiful. Right. And then we can say if not empty, let the current one will be the first of cells, the head and the tails will be the rest of cells. Right, there we go. Tails. Oh, it's mapped our heads, tails, right, and then we PRN heads. The other thing is the Erlang syntax, right? So now we have the head of the list, right? And now we can just update in boards. That would be, we can destructure this into these cell, sub-cell, right? Cell entanglements, sub-cell. And what do we want there? Highlight true. And that's not going to work, right? That is not going to work because we need to pass it along. It will become a new version of the board. B update, right? And if not empty, TLS, it will recur. If empty, TLS, it will return the board itself. It's compiled yet. I'm just keep pressing the wrong buttons, right? I think this will fail miserably. PRN new boards B. Let's break it first. So right, beautiful. Yeah, and then it fails, right? Then the question becomes, if we seriously, if we do a board right here, CPW, right? Well, is board not defined? What? Right. Let's insert it right here. Update in this hash map. All right. Closure docs. There's this entire thing going on the internet about, or on Twitter, about developers highlighting that they look stuff up on Google. Why? If you know me, I do that all the time, right? So, not the increment, I just want to update. Yeah, oh, I need a source. Right, so that's the problem probably. Let's give it a try. Update in 0 entanglements 2. So this one will be retrieved, and we'll add a highlight, assoc highlight true. And now we should see the highlight true, right? It's right here. Right. So beautiful, that works. And returns the board as we expect. So we can use this when we want. Boop. There we go. There we go. We have a nice highlight and returns a new board. And if we run this, it should give us some nice outputs already. Right, so toggle highlight true, highlight true, highlight true, highlight true. Right. So if we take this stuff, we can put it in the game itself. So that takes the board and the cells, right, and recurs. Beautiful. So if we take a look at the events, we can say we know we have the paths. Did we take care of the paths already? Test. my brain stopped working. Yeah, so we have the entire list, so we can just reuse the paths. I'm gonna sneeze one. It will be beautiful weather. Oh, we should sneeze 3 times. All right, so we have the paths, and we can just say new board will be game highlight cells on the board, so it's the board from the DB. And the cells that we're going to highlight is the paths that we found, so it will highlight all these 4 cells, right? And then in here the DB will get updated, update in DB, source DB board, new board. That should work already. There's no paths necessary, and that means that in the view we can use the highlight stuff. So here we have the board, we have the SVG icons, and a new type of subscriptions that we have not used yet. So let's see. So what we want is to have not the entanglements, the mark right here. We should also open up some CSS. We have a player mark, and let's just, what shall we do? Shall we just make it a very bright color? Highlight color, red, green, blue, red. Let's just start with red, right? Foo, we'll call it foo, right? And then let's see, so we have the data, we have the cell, parents, cell, mark the player open, it's the player data, player 1, player 0. So either there's a player or there's an open field. If there is a player, then we need to add when highlights at data highlight. I wonder if that did something. Mark one player. So I wonder if the PRN at data, see what is in the data. There's no highlight yet. And that's probably because we did not get to call the path detection because we're not adding fields. So let's give this a try. Let's say about the 0. This one does do nothing. Oh, this is interesting. We broke it. We can the data we can leave, I think. Events. We probably, this is not doing what we're thinking it's doing, I think. So when there is a collapse, when switch to player, it does a collapse. So let's reload it. Yeah. So if we just a db here, highlight cells will do its thing, but the db, let's reload. Right, this marks the cell. There's something going on my computer. Maybe I messed up the, no, it's the OBS. It's the broadcasting studio that is causing the computer to do a lot of fanning. So, and let's say PRN new board. Let's make sure that the board is being created as we think it should be. Right. Let's clean this. There's no highlights yet because there's no paths. And bam, now it should have highlights. True. Beautiful. So this board is being generated correctly. And now we want to associate db a board with new board, and that should result in a proper new database, I believe. Let's see. Let's clean this up. This one. So that does the game, the board, which is exactly what we expect. Right. And this one, and it should give us a board which has a highlight as well. That is also very true. So this should just work. Or did I miss something? Let's reinitialize. That's interesting. That is very interesting. New DB, PRN, new DB, new DB, right? So let's see what it is. The entire field thing is also different. Yeah, so I messed something else up, I think. Fuse, let's undo. This one, maybe that's the problem. No, that's not the problem. Maybe there is a subtle change in the way the DB works, right? Or what I did, Alt DB, and thank God for immutable state, because now we can see what is going on. Right, and then Alt DB is right here. I see. There is a change, and the change is that there is a nil right here, right? So that means there's a oddity right here. And TLL. Yeah. It probably recurs. Yeah, so the due to the way I did this means that there will be a this could be nil because the TLS is only checked for empty. So after using it, so if empty TLS board and else we can just recur. Subtle change and TLS, so empty cells. Right, so let's see if this works better. And then this one, right. Then we should see, no longer should see that there is a nil value, but now stuff is highlighted, right? Yeah, so I don't see a nil. And if we go back to the views, oh, it's doing something. It's not very what I expected, but it is marking the path, which is very good. CSS. So highlight. Let's take a look at the cells because now the CSS stuff is stacked. So is there computed? So it has, oh, player 0 highlight, right? There's no space. Player 0. Let's add a space right here. Right. Beautiful. Now let's find a good color because that's horrible. Color picker. What is a good highlight? Probably yellowish, right? Or do we want to go for awful pink? Let's try awful pink. Let's see how it works. I know Martin does not like pink, so it is a very good joke to pull on him. Well, that's actually quite horrible. Let's not do that. We'll just do a greenish, right? It's a very good thing that we found a path, so let's Right, good enough, right? So if we go to the DB and let's reinitialize everything. So suppose I go for a game that is somewhat like this, and this person does that, and we do this, and then I would say, well, I want to create a path, bam. So only these four are as a part of a path. So this moves them into an observable state. So the player can now, we need to now determine the possible paths or possible observations, I guess. So either you choose to have this one stay and then we should eliminate this one and we get that one, or you choose to eliminate or choose this one and then you eliminate this one. So this either becomes the O or the X based on the outcome, based on the selection. So let's see, where are we on time? We are an hour in, so I will leave that for next time. Yes, I will do that. Let's see if we need to clean up some stuff. Becoming quite horrible already. Right. We have the depth first search, which is, maybe we can make it easier, but currently it is in the map catus here as well. Right. All right, we'll leave that for what it is. I will save the file db. Yes, save it. Let's add these files to the repository. These files can be added. Let's commit, update path detection path highlights on board. That works. And let's push that. Push it. Alright, so it's going on to GitLab right now. Let's also make a release. Let's start live coding 007. Right. And we can immediately, or we can go into our project file and make this 007 snapshot, right? Let's refresh, submit it, commit, version and bump. Well, we know it already works, so we only fixed the release, and that's release finish 007. Right, this will merge everything. Do a merge, that's fine. Update version for live coding 007. Everything still works. We merged it into develop, which is the branch that we are doing now. Do index. So it still works. And we'll push the develop branch back to GitLab, which now has a tag of live coding 007. But more importantly, we have a master branch, which now also has all the updates. Let's push that. Push it. We'll wait a little bit. And we should now check out develop again, because that's the one that we develop on. And if we look at GitLab, I need to log in. There we go. And always use two-factor authentication, because else you might get hacked. It actually happened to me once and I got quite paranoid from it. So wherever I can, I enable two-factor authentication, and I highly suggest you do it too. Come on, little boy. GitLab is taking its sweet little time. There we go. So we go to QTTT. And the commit is pending, of course. So, and if we now take a look at the commits and the network, we should see it develop, master, and live coding will be somewhere around here as well. Let's push all the tags as well. By default, Git does not do that, and I don't really, it's probably a reason for it. So develop is now at live coding 007, the merge of it, and master and live coding are here. So you see the entire life cycle of the project. 5 we did not do much. We figured out that we circled back to the thing we had. 6 we fixed our structure, and you see 7 it had a lot of fixes to take care of the internal project. So yeah, Spacemax. No, it's just plain Emacs. It is plain Emacs, and actual configuration is also right here. So config. There we go. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for today. The next session will actually be in 2 weeks, because next week we're building my son's bedroom, or rebuilding it. Actually, he's getting a Mario room. It's awesome. So that means in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I will clean up the code a little bit. I'm also making a long form tutorial of this entire thing that we already did. Thinking it will be about 10 sessions total before the actual board is working as we want it, and we can have a game detection and everything into it. And that also means that it is a very nice thing to actually go into a long form tutorial and have a summary video on it, because else you will need to look at about 12 to 14 hours of video just to figure out how the board works. So I will do that. For now, see you again next time in 2 weeks. Same time, same place. But then Martin will be joining again. Have a good day. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and if you have not done so, subscribe to the channel below. You will be notified when the next live show is. So see you then.